Perfect prompt. We do record these events so people can access it, and people do access them online afterwards. So it's nice to do that. So if everyone's okay, we have recorded the system. This is an hour's event, and I'm delighted that I've got 4 panellists who I'd like to call friends from around the world. ICSPE, the International Council for Sports Science and Physical Education, and the World Association of Sport Management, WASM, have joined together to launch this event, Global Teaching Excellence. And it's an initiative aimed at all people who are passionate about learning and teaching. And today I've got 4 great people from right across the globe, and I'd just like to introduce them first before we start the questioning. So the first person who we've got on screen at the moment is Professor Erianne, who is from the USA, and she is a Professor of Sport Administration who studies the intersection of sport and higher education, college sport organisational structure and culture, and the pursuit of expertise. She's the Director of the Centre for Research in Intercollegiate Athletics, President of the North American Association for Sport Management, Chair of the UNC Faculty Athletics Committee, and she earned her PhD in Sports Marketing and Management from Indiana University and a Masters of Business Administration and BS in Exercise and Sports Science from the University of Utah, where she also completed as a heptathlete and a graduate assistant track coach. She's a research fellow for the College Sport Research Institute, has published 3 books, over 100 referee articles and book chapters, and has consulted for over 30 organisations, and has given a roughly 100 invited and referees research presentations. So Erianne, we're delighted to have you here. Thanks for coming along. Our second person is Kelvin Chasauka from Zambia. He is the co-founder and executive director of Africa on the Ball, an organisation that uses the power of football for the advancement of education, healthcare and enterprise. Africa on the Ball was established in 2011 and was created with the inspiration of helping the community of Kalingalinga in Lusaka through football. Using football to engage the young in a way few development projects can. Over the last 10 years, they've witnessed firsthand the power of football as it helps to empower young people and offer them skills to learn and build self-esteem. Furthermore, they've used football not only as an activity that is enjoyable and healthy, but a space that promotes fair play, inclusiveness and engagement. Over the last 15 years, Kelvin has had the privilege of working with both local and international organisations that promote sport for development and management. So delighted to have Kelvin, or as he likes to be known, Kelchi, here on the panel as well today. Hi, Kelvin.
Thank you.
And then our third panellist is our Gaby from the Netherlands, who is a sports leadership professional, both in the classroom as well as during outdoor expeditions. Within higher education, she focuses on the use of sport in society with an emphasis on leadership and youth empowerment. Gaby has developed a minor specialisation on sport for development at the Amsterdam University of Applied Sciences and is also an examiner for students who are becoming outdoor instructors. In September 2022, Gaby started her part-time PhD candidate at the Rotterdam School of Management. Her research focuses on gender-balanced leadership development, and she's interested in experiential leadership and development programmes that are using sport as a means to teach leadership skills. When Gaby is not behind a laptop, she likes to climb mountains and volunteer as a mentor to young people in prison through the organisation Young Perspectives. So Gaby, delighted to have you here too as well. And our final panellist is Fran Serrano from New Zealand, who is a senior lecturer at the Manukau Institute of Technology. Oh, I'm going to have to pronounce this now, Fran. Te Tokenga, close enough, isn't it? And has been involved in education for 25 years. He's actively involved in connecting tertiary education with the sport industry and has developed a diploma in sport that is delivered out of County's Manukau Rugby Union, an initiative that after 5 years has spread to other rugby unions and national sport associations. He is the managing trustee of the Malachi Alatini Trust, which focuses on developing sport and educational pathways for Polynesian student athletes in New Zealand. His latest research activity includes studying applied learning environments within sport organisations, cultural frameworks that drive performance in New Zealand rugby, and the application of learning organisation models to drive performance within team sports. Fran, lovely to have you here today as well. So as you can see, we've got 4 great panellists who have different experiences and expertise from different contexts right across the globe. So today we're going to look at student engagement and what we mean by student engagement. So I'd like to kick off the questions, and I'll probably throw this to you, Erianne, because you're on the screen first. The first question is, we're all working in different contexts, but who are our students? So what's the context of where you work, and what's your role within the work that you do? So can you just describe who our students are for you?
Oh, goodness. Well, I feel like we obviously have the students in our classroom, but one of the things that I study is expertise, and I think that so many view this time when you're in youth and then when you're in university as your learning years, and then the rest of your life you just coast. I think a perfect example is in sport. How many youth are in swim lessons, and if you didn't take those lessons when you were young, you're not a swimmer. So when I think of who our students are, it's absolutely everyone that we can interface with to share our messages about the beauty of sport and education. So I know you want us to be concise, so maybe I'll just end with that. I will say one other thing, though, is that our students at university right now are so different than they used to be, and understanding who Generation Z is and what the attributes of this new generation is I think particularly important for educators right now.
That's great, Erianne. You don't need to be too concise. You don't need to be too concise, but it's very clear that you work in a university environment and your typical students are students in the classroom, but you're saying that obviously the reach of sport is bigger than that. And we're going to touch on the student journey, which may bring in some of the types of generation and the millenniums and everything else like that. So thanks, Erianne, for kicking that off. Kelvin, I'll come to you next. Who are the people that you work with? Who are the students in your environment? You're on mute, Kel.
Yeah. Thanks once again. So basically, for me, I pretty much grew up in a sports environment, like sports for development as a player. Now I'm a founder of one of the most interesting organization in Zambia. So for me, I feel the students are the people that I have the opportunity to impact knowledge to. So this could be my athletes. This could be my volunteers. This could be my coaches as well, because for me, I look at them as my students, and in our environment, we look at everyone as a student because we impact people with the skills of life. We believe that everyone is a student at one point. I can be a student to myself because I believe I can learn from certain things that I didn't do well in the past. Hence, I'll be able to impact the people who I have an opportunity to surround myself with, which happens to be my football players, my athletes, my coaches, as well as my volunteers.
Great, thanks, Kelvin. And just to show the difference in where obviously where Erianne works is a higher education, a university environment, but Kelvin, your students, your athletes and students and volunteers come to you, and they don't always have the access to education, do they? But you're teaching your students, your athletes, about life skills through your organisation. Will you just explain how your students come to you and what they do?
So basically, it's the interest that they have, and it's what they're willing to learn from me through the organization. So basically, most people come through to play sports, and in the process, they become role models to themselves and to others. So these they come out with leadership skills, and they become, like I said earlier, they become positive role models to themselves and to their society.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Kelvin. Fran, Same question to you, Fran. Who are your students and what role do you have with your students? Which environment?
Well, out here in New Zealand, and being a smaller country and all, our students, both basically that are interested in sport, are usually people that have had a very positive experience through sport. They could be athletes, they could be administrators or coaches that have been very fond of being able to volunteer, participate through sport. So we like to define them a little bit more like sports-minded individuals. Um, and a key characteristic about them is that they actually want to be active and they want to continue being involved in sport. So though we get very young, straight out of high school students that had a very positive experience in sport, and they think that studying sport is continuing to play sport. We also have that middle-aged experienced volunteer that has been a successful coach or administrator that also now wants to be a little bit more involved in a paid capacity in sport. So that's the spectrum of students that we get from that high school leaver that thinks that studying sport is continuing to play it, to that experienced volunteer that now wants to see if they can find a paid opportunity in sport through the work that they've been doing, and they need a qualification behind it.
Great, thanks, Fran. So it's similar to what the others are saying. It's not just your students that are in the classroom, but it's the volunteers, the coaches, middle-aged, different age groups, etc. Yeah, thank you. Gaby, same question to you. And Gaby, I know that you work in a university environment, but can you also talk about some of the outdoor pursuits you've done and also the work you do with the prison?
Yeah, happily, thank you. So from the more work environment, I work for a private practical institution in the Netherlands, and that means that the students who are there, for whatever reason, they didn't make it in the regular circuit, and that's why they find something else. They have been disappointed, and they're now looking for a more practical, private, small learning environment. And it means at this institution, we have no classroom. Everything is taught outdoors, being it on the ski slopes, in the mountains, at the rock climbing area, or on water where we teach them to sail or kayak or all kinds of exciting things. So no traditional classroom environment. And it's also beyond the 9 to 5 days. So it's oftentimes like 3 weeks in a row, and we have them 24/7. So quite an intense learning experience. And for my outdoor expeditions, I actually work with professionals in the field, mostly young people who are in their early careers, and they go on a leadership development course, and I take them into the outdoors where they are offline for a week, and there's again no official classroom setting. And in prison, it's more, I go there every week on an afternoon, and we sit in the prison in a room that we have access to, and it's just one-on-one learning experience. And that's only for those prisoners who signed up for it. So that's all voluntarily from their side as well. So a bunch of different areas I'm involved in, but all beyond the traditional classroom, I would like to say.
Brilliant. Thanks, Gaby. So you can see from the panelists that we've got teachers in different parts of the globe, but teaching in very different contexts and very different environments, and not necessarily your typical higher education university students. So we've got a lovely display here of different teachers but who work in the sport and physical activity environment. So it's very much about learning and teaching in sport and physical activity. So with that said, I'm going to stay with you, Gaby, because you're on screen. We know who our students are now, and there's lots of different examples, but to you, what do we mean by student engagement? What is student engagement as your understanding?
For me, especially working with the young students that didn't make it in the regular circuit, they're really looking to be activated themselves, to be eager for learning. And that engagement means, yeah, it's active. It goes both ways. It's not just me standing in front of them saying a bunch of things. It's also asking questions, opening up, having laughter together. So the willingness to learn and be open to new experiences and insights, it's what makes it engaging.
How can you tell? I mean, heaven forbid that we should have laughter in a classroom or in teaching and learning. But How do you know your students are engaged? You mentioned asking questions there.
Because they ask me questions or they challenge me whenever I say something and they have a different view, sometimes just facial expressions help as well, and they come at you a couple days later like, hey Gaby, you told me this and this, I thought about it. So mostly when you hear them asking questions or raise their eyebrows or something like that, then I got them engaged, yeah. Or when they laugh at me, which is also very fine.
Thanks, Gaby. Fran, same question to you. What is student engagement to you?
Well, in our case, we really feel that we're very fortunate compared to other qualifications that other areas study. People that are interested in studying sport actually love sport. They want to be involved in sport. So they're already engaged when they walked in. And then we're the ones that are responsible for disengaging them. So it's actually about enhancing their journey and enhancing their experience through sport, but now putting in this blend of education and formalizing what their experience is and what they find so positive about sport. And we found through a program that we put together in County Santa Clara Rugby Union, which is what we call it a contextualized learning program. It's been that we need to use multiple channels to approach the students because they want to be active in the sporting industry, and we allow them to be active and working with rugby union. But on the other hand, we still have to provide that formalized teaching and learning, and so that we need to do it.
I'll just stop you there, Fran. I think there's a Diana she's just turned off her mic. Can other people just turn off the mics? We'll have a question and answer at the end. Go on, Fran, carry on.
So similar to Gaby's experience, we need to make those outdoor environments, those non-traditional environments, we need to make them a learning environment. And what we've identified that we have multiple channels. One being that outside the classroom space where we're able to do one-on-ones, be outside the field teaching, where we strongly rely on our learning management system where the heavy content is laid out. After COVID, it's really enhanced the video calls, one-on-one video calls, to use that outside of 9 to 5, just like Gaby was saying, but using that as a channel. And another two ways that we've actually used as channels of connection to enhance that learning is using what they're already used to, which is the social media channel. So having a private social media page to actually carry on that engagement and a private messaging group with the class group where we can carry on the discussions in an informal basis in what students are used to communicating today. That actually has also helped quite a bit to continuing that engagement while still connecting on that formal basis, which is the content that you got to teach. Apart from that, the classroom time that you do spend, but being a contextualized program, it's a lot more reduced than what it would be on an on-campus program.
Great. You've mentioned lots of things there, Fran, and you mentioned obviously you work in a university setting, but the formal ways that we can engage and also the informal ways, and we touched on something that I think Erianne was alluding to, changes in technology and how that can help with engagement, social media, etc. We'll come back to that further on, but you made some good points there, Fran, thank you. I'm just going to go to Erianne now because we're on that theme that you work in a similar environment to Fran. So what's student engagement to you, Erianne?
Well, so I always start each semester by giving them a blank piece of paper with all of the dates listed that are empty, and which is very counter to what we're used to, I think, giving students a syllabus with the entire journey mapped out. But what I tell to them is we have 16 weeks of time together, and my hope is that during this time, every hour is something that you look forward to, that you come having thought about what we're going to talk about, and then you come ready to learn and be engaged. And because I know that this generation's attention span is so much shorter than any other in the past, I do very little lecturing, and I think that that's in many ways an antiquated model of education. In order for content to come alive, we have to be doing activities where they make the content. They're either practicing, they're debating, they're doing role plays, case studies, working through a problem, but they're very much not passive receptacles of information, but active participants grappling with data together. So I think all of the one-way information transfer should be done primarily outside of the classroom, and within the classroom, everybody should be involved grappling with the issues.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite clear, and you can probably see from Erianne's personality that it's about applied learning, it's about practice learning, and it's about a two-way communication with your students. And to me, the skill and the art of teaching is very much that. But I think we've all been in environments where we don't witness that. And this is one of the reasons that we've developed Global Teaching Excellence, is to learn best practice and to learn about key tips and key easy ways about doing that type of interaction. So you've raised some good points. Thanks, Erianne. Kelvin, I'm going to come to you with the same question. For you, what is student engagement? How do you know that your students are engaged?
For me, we've developed a model where some of our senior athletes or volunteers, especially I would say some of the senior football players, could be boys and girls, they are given a role model team, or they request to be part of the coaching staff. So for us, it's more practical. We are able to see a 17-year-old boy leading a session for the under 12s, under 8s, and everything. So, but basically for me, what I can say about students' engagement, I think for me it's the degree of attention, interest, optimism, and passion, which you get to see from your participants in terms of developing further skills, and as well as this model actually allows our students to come back to us and tell us to say, okay, I've managed to understand the challenges that you pass through, seeing us grow and everything, because they get to experience that practically with a different set of age groups as part of that model that we want to create. Because we want to create a rapport of different abilities amongst our athletes, amongst our volunteers, because we believe not everyone can play netball, not everyone can play football, but at the end of the day, they can still be able to provide a different kind of skills to the football or to the sports environment in our community. And this has really worked out well, because we've had people now, we have one person who's been doing aerobics, and he's been engaged with all our football teams. They use aerobics as part of the warm-up and everything. So you can clearly tell to say he's engaging different age groups, could be boys and girls.
Perfect. And you've demonstrated there, Kelvin, that you don't have to be excellent at one thing or rise to that pinnacle, but everybody's got skills and expertise and experience to give to society, and it's how we utilise those skills to develop others and ourselves as well. So you've touched on some really good points there, thank you. And it kind of leads in nicely to the